Messages from Matthew, July 29, 2016. By Suzanne Ward. Website, www.matthewbooks.com. With loving greetings from all souls at this station, this is Matthew. Your concerns about a number of issues are shared by many around the world, particularly the frequency of terrorist acts and mass shootings. As sad as it is to see our Earth brothers and sisters killing one another, we anticipated the increase in those kinds of incidents. They are the natural result of your linear time crunching up and energy levels that have intensified all personal characteristics, including mental instability and corresponding behavior. Those two powerful forces working in tandem is accelerating the activity of energy streamers with violent attachments. We hasten to add that those forces are affecting everything on the planet, and situations propelled by beneficial attachments are steaming toward soundly reasoned resolutions. An example is the Hague's ruling pertaining to the South China Sea. China's grumbling is not unexpected, but nothing in the energy field of potential indicates a strenuous objection that could lead to open conflict. Of special interest in the United States, and because of its international influence, in other countries as well, is that nation's two major political parties' presidential nominees. We stated in previous messages that prevailing vibrations were not supporting candidates who lack moral and spiritual integrity, but the voters will decide who wins. Each party's nominee has staunch supporters. However, the energy momentum of the electorate's widespread dissatisfaction with both has become too strong for either to be elected. Earth's monitors in Nirvana tell us that the energy of world could manifest any of various possibilities that will put Senator Bernie Sanders in the White House. Souls at this station are apolitical, so it is not on a partisan basis that we will welcome his presidency, but rather that his wisdom, personal qualities and leadership will enable his country and your world to continue progressing toward Gaia's vision for all life on her planetary body. So UK leaves EU. Now what? The Illuminati's dominoes will keep falling. It is not that countries cooperating to offer their citizens enhanced trade, employment and educational opportunities is not a grand idea, indeed, it is. But never was the purpose of the European Union to benefit the people, it was to put them squarely under the thumb of the Illuminati. When vibrations reached a rate wherein an organization built on a foundation of dark intent could not much longer stand, it became a matter of when the first domino in the EU would fall. Let us put this into its larger context. The Illuminati, also now known as the Cabal, global elite, shadow government, one world order, one world government, began as a group of individuals who felt that they were the most intelligent and learned people in the world, thus they were entitled to rule everyone else. Over time, others with the same superior attitude were drawn into the fold of this secret society, egos grew, tempers flared, and two competing factions emerged with the same goal, world domination. Now we fast forward to 60-some years ago, when the Rockefeller faction that operates out of New York and Washington, D.C., was expanding its tentacles far westward, and into Latin America. The Rothschild faction, headquartered in London and the Vatican, saw their territorial influence meager in comparison, so they buffed up their Council of Europe by establishing the European Union, European Central Bank and Euro currency. The Union was put under the Council's flag, and shares its anthem, such a duplicitous choice, Beethoven's Ode to Joy. With the first few countries buckled in by their European Union belt, so to say, the Rothschilds and their minions set off on their expansion course. They moved into the new state of Israel, then throughout the Mideast, and more recently, Northern Africa and some countries formerly within the Soviet Union. All along both factions have used strategies in the original plan to reach their goal. They infiltrated governments, military forces, intelligence agencies, multinational corporations, law enforcement and justice systems, religious hierarchies, entertainment industry, medical and educational fields. They garnered fortunes by manipulating the global economy through stock markets, banking and lending institutions, usurious interest rates and unfair taxation. They initiated civil wars, wars between adjoining countries, and World Wars I and II. Assassinated or imprisoned opposition. Formed terrorist groups. Suppressed and misused technologies. Controlled mainstream media and the illegal drug trade. And took over natural resources wherever they went. The original plan also included what they have failed to do, reduce the population by several billions, via nuclear weaponry, toxic pollution, and pandemics caused by laboratory-designed viruses. All attempts toward that diabolical end have been thwarted by members of your universal family in your skies, or living among you. Still, the two factions kept adding to their respective lines of dominoes and each felt that the world was coming within its grasp. What they hadn't taken into account is the light. After millennia of being held captive by the darkness that enshrouded the planet, the people started responding to the light beam to Earth by spiritually evolved civilizations. The more enlightened they became, the more determined they were to throw off the yoke of oppression and persecution, and voices for freedom grew in numbers and volume. All the while, the intensifying light also was exposing the Illuminati's global network of corruption and ruthlessness, and their dominoes started falling. Brexit is the most recent. Few individuals who voted to leave know of the Illuminati or the real purpose of the Union. What they knew is that benefits they had been led to believe they would derive had not materialized. Few who voted to remain know of the Illuminati or what the Union really was about, but they were faring well or were leery about what would happen if the United Kingdom set out on its own. Few know that the outcome of Brexit was more than the vote count. It was influenced by vibrations that are undergirding activities leading toward a world of peace, honest governance, justness, and a fair share of Earth's abundance for all peoples. There will be some frayed nerves and bumpy patches as the EU unravels. More truths emerge. The economy fluctuates as the Illuminati, some at the peak of both factions have joined forces, futilely try to hold on to their ill-gotten wealth. And violence runs out its energetic course. Every happening in this moment and forthcoming is moving society closer to that aforementioned world. Beloved family, we know how eager you are for that to come about, and your steadfastness as light workers is helping to bring ever closer in linear time that which is fait accompli in the continuum. I am distressed about countries not wanting to accept immigrants from violence-torn areas and prejudice growing against them in countries that have taken them in. How can we ever live in harmony with prejudice increasing? First, let us say that fear, a highly magnified energy form that is the major tool and fuel of dark minds and hearts, is the root of prejudice in all its pernicious forms and the source of all actions stemming from the illusion of separateness. For the eons that Earth was stuck in deep third density, prejudice was the motivator of the violence and injustices that let countless souls complete their chosen karmic lessons. Now that the society is moving out of that density with its karmic merry-go-round, what is perceived as prejudice increasing actually is putting this bassest aspect of humankind into the glare of a global spotlight so its destructive divisiveness can be clearly seen. As vibrations keep rising, healing, harmony and peace will come as love and mutual respect unify the peoples in the oneness of all. Managing millions and millions of refugees seems an insurmountable problem. What will happen to all these desperate people? The plight of the millions in hastily arranged camps will ease somewhat as aid organizations gain strength in numbers, and donations of monies, food, water, medical supplies and other essential equipment increase. The light radiated by the many aid givers along with the light in worldwide compassion and the massive amount beamed to the planet is helping to sustain the refugees' endurance and hopefulness. As tyrannical regimes fall and warring ends, repatriation of people who fled those areas can begin. Financial and reconstruction assistance will be given in communities where this is practical. Where villages and towns are too severely damaged to rebuild, the same assistance will be given to former residents so they can start anew in other locations. Immigrants in countries that gave them sanctuary will assimilate into those populations with benefits for all or choose to return to their native lands. Please remember that the majority of refugees chose these life-changing circumstances to complete third density karma and evolve. Also in keeping with contract choices, not all will survive their traumatic ordeal. People whose experiences are direr than chosen, or who die prior to their contract's lifespan receive extraordinary opportunities for advancement in soul evolution, and advancement is the goal of every soul in every lifetime. Some readers question whether loss of life and vast destruction due to wildfires, flooding and earthquakes, creates negativity, or is part of Earth's cleansing process. It does both. While all of those events do create negativity, the cleansing effects for Earth are much greater, that is, negativity created by all other sources is released by natural disasters in far greater measure than the amount produced by those events. Do soul contracts of alternative healthcare practitioners and whistleblowers include being killed because of their efforts to do good? Some contracts do. Practitioners who have been killed to prevent them from healing with natural therapies chose that fate to shed light on the collusion of the medical establishment with vaccine manufacturers and pharmaceutical and insurance companies. Those whose services led to being professionally discredited and perhaps incarcerated or who fled to other countries agreed to those disruptions in their lives. It is the same with whistleblowers who have exposed many other situations that also adversely affect your lives. The numbers of individuals who experienced or are threatened with one or another of the nefarious means whereby the Illuminati deal with anyone who jeopardizes their money-based interests have decreased as public awareness has increased. Our explanation of why there will be no nuclear explosions in space prompted questions about the people who were damaged in such occurrences. First, this doesn't apply to bodies, but to souls, and those that have been damaged were living as free spirits that didn't embody souls in civilizations so highly evolved that they have no density, or souls in astral travel. When a soul is shattered in a nuclear explosion, it doesn't separate into whole personages, but rather into fragments that contain bits and pieces of memories of all lifetimes and whatever was remembered about the beginnings and Creator. Traumatized by abrupt separation from the wholeness, most fragments drift throughout space, lost and confused, but some find their way into a body. This isn't possession, it is an act of love on the part of the occupant soul. Specially trained teams search the heavens for the fragments, which emit vibrations on a unique bandwidth, and when one is found, it is transported to a healing facility where it is lovingly nurtured. When all fragments are located, in linear time this may take millennia. An intricate process is undertaken to restore the soul to its wholeness with every aspect of each lifetime in proper sequence. The diligent search and complex restoration show the infinite, eternal importance of each and every soul to Creator and, in this universe, to God. Can the soul be seen in a Kirlian photograph? No. What is seen is the aura, light emanating from a body's electromagnetic field that reflects the person's spiritual status, emotional makeup, convictions and physical condition at the moment the photograph is taken. Auras change in accordance with changes in the person. A healthy individual living in godly ways has a glowing aura that extends a fair way out from the body and may be multi-hued. The more spiritually evolved the individual, the brighter and broader the aura. If a person with those qualities becomes seriously ill or injured, the aura narrows and dims. Its former status returns as healing occurs. A healthy individual whose mind is closed has a thin, dull aura. If that individual opens to spiritual and conscious enlightenment, the aura grows correspondingly wider and brighter. Someone whose greedy, angry, demanding or deceitful nature causes hardships for others outside their pre-birth agreement, has a narrow murky border around the body. And a person who consistently ignores conscience and willfully causes suffering to others doesn't have enough light for even an outline. It is the collective auras of Earth's humankind, animals and plant life that we see when we look at the planet in its entirety. Dear ones, if you could see what we do, you would be both joyous and awe-stricken by the panorama of love and enlightenment sparkling around the globe. Keep your light shining brilliantly. All along your Earth journey you have been accompanied and supported by the unequaled power of love from light beings throughout this universe. Love and peace. Suzanne Ward. Website: www.matthewbooks.com